HarperCollins presents Silent Cry by Jenny O'Brien, read by Janine Cooper-Marshall. Prologue. Izzy. 5 years ago. Be careful, it's the first time you've been out with her by yourself. Give over nagging, Izzy, we'll be fine, won't we, gorgeous? Charlie said, bending on his haunches and gently running his finger down his daughter's plump cheek, her dark blue eyes staring back at him. We're going to let your mammy have some rest while we go to the shops. It's time we got better acquainted. I can tell you all about football and which team to support. You will not. Don't listen, Alys. There's only one football team worth supporting and it's not his, Izzy teased, feeling redundant now that Charlie had stolen her attention. This would be the first time she'd be apart from her since the birth, and already she could feel the bonds of motherhood straining at the thought of Alys being out of her sight, even if it was only for half an hour. It had only taken a week for her world to shrink to the boundary walls of the house, but she'd never been happier. Her eyes grazed the pair of them, and love filled every corner. But Charlie and Alys needed this time, both of them, and a few minutes alone after another interrupted night's sleep would be like a gift from the gods. Izzy had never felt so bone-achingly weary, and while she dreaded being apart, a rest would make all the difference. Now, what about a goodbye kiss from your pretty mum, then? Charlie said. Pushing himself to standing, the car seat in the crook of his arm, he leant in for a kiss reminiscent of the best Hollywood romances. You daft thing, she laughed. But secretly she was pleased. More than pleased. She watched as he reversed the Mini into the road and continued watching until they were out of sight before returning to the warmth of the house. She slipped off her shoes by the front door and, fumbling into her slippers, headed for the kitchen. There was washing and ironing, not to mention food to prepare. There were so many things she knew she should be doing, but she felt sick with tiredness. With a mug of tea in her hand, she returned to the sofa, and feet propped up on the end, rested back, allowing the silence envelop her. There was always noise in the cottage. It wasn't Charlie's fault that he was one of those men you could hear long before you could see them. Charlie, her one-night stand, who seemed to have taken up root in both her house and her heart. He was always clomping around the place with a heavy tread, and if it wasn't him, it was one of his mates he'd invited back for her to feed. The house suddenly felt empty with a pervading sound of silence. She'd close her eyes, just for 5 minutes. They'd be back soon. The fire had died back to nothing, the embers just a pale glow in the grate. She turned her head towards the window, her hand instinctively pulling the woolen blanket around her shoulders, a shiver snaking its way across her spine. The last time she'd looked out, the sun had been streaming in through the pane, but all that was visible now was the dense grey of twilight. The phone rang, slicing through her sudden fear. She struggled to sit, her neck stiff from the arm of the sofa. A million excuses chased through her mind. They've been delayed, maybe had a puncture, or knowing Charlie, he's run out of petrol. Her hand lifted the receiver to her ear before gently replacing it. She'd learnt the best way to treat cold callers was by doing exactly that, no comment, no words, nothing. She pulled the throw tighter over her shoulders, her eyes now on the clock on the mantelpiece. Her mind in a tangle. 2 hours! How the hell could she have slept for so long? This was quickly followed by the worst thought of all. He must have had an accident. Even now he's in some anonymous hospital bed, and as for Alys... Her stomach clenched when there was no need. She just...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?